Hello and welcome. It's Katya, Soul Source Wisdom. Great to have you back again. Now, today I'm going to talk about cancer and chronic illness and the need to move. Cancer or chronic illness is a call to move, stagnation. We'll talk about that, but before we do, I wanted to make it clear where this channel stands, the benchmark that I have held for decades in my teaching, and that is I will not teach or speak about something I've not personally experienced. I don't give advice about something I myself have not personally gone through, okay? I don't have the authority to do that. Now, we're living in times where there's an enormous amount of information online that people are parroting. It could be other people's experiences. It could be information that's shared. And yet what's missing is the person delivering this has not had the personal experience of it themselves. So, this came to me about 3 decades ago when I knew a man. He was a Buddhist and we were great friends for quite a long time. Fortunately, he passed away, but often people might have asked me, what do you think about this particular tenet or something in Buddhism, or about the way people do this? And I'd say, I really don't know. I can't give any advice or my opinion even on it because I've not lived that. That's not my path. But I can certainly direct you to somebody who has. So that's been my criteria, and I just want to make it clear that's where Source Wisdom is. So just know that what I speak about I have personally experienced and I've experienced with other people. All right, so cancer is a call to move. It's a call to move stagnation, any chronic illness, okay? Like I said, to me I see cancer as a gift, but initially, of course, it's an enormous amount of overwhelm, shock, my God, all of that. And the thoughts that go through people's mind at the beginning are often from the programs we've had put in. Like I said, we've seen other people go through cancers. And also, it just brings this feeling of fear, because that's what's imprinted, I guess, in anything to do with cancer. So I also had to face within myself where I had lied to myself a lot about how I was living my life over the last few years in particular. Now, as we know, life has changed dramatically since 2020. For many of us, we now find ourselves estranged from people who were once close friends, from family members, because we hold a different opinion or belief, or we didn't partake in a particular action that other people may have. Now, a lot of people have found themselves at this point estranged from their families or particular family members, and it's still going on. So there's no doubt that those years have created a lot of internal trauma in people. PTSD is totally associated with the whole COVID era, because we absorbed a lot of grief, a lot of loss, a lot of fear, and for many of us, we just kept going without expressing all these feelings. Those sayings, just move on, just internalize it. Well, that's all very well, but of course, there's a lot of scientific evidence showing that our body keeps everything in its tissues. That saying, your issues are in your tissues. It's true. And what you're not expressing is held in there, and it's affecting the way your body functions, okay? And over time, if these feelings aren't expressed, they'll start to erode our sense of well-being and health in big ways. The geckos are speaking. So there's trauma, and at the cancer retreats, as I said, they were retreats, but people would come with cancer to do detoxifications. And like I said, well, I haven't said that, but I will say it, is that I feel that certain plants have incredible medicinal qualities and properties, and they're to be used in minute amounts for a medicine, okay? So people would come, and of course with the condition cleansing, this is what vegetables and fruits are, they're cleansing. You can only do it for a short period of time, because then you need to be nourished and built back up again. So these retreats, there was commonalities amongst people with cancer that's no doubt have a very huge emotional component. And that is, there's been a trauma that's occurred probably within the 2 to 3 to 5 year period prior to a diagnosis of cancer or chronic illness. A long, prolonged period of stress. And stress is an umbrella term that I see as, you know, anger, frustration, disappointment, resentments. All these things are building up in people, and they'll say, I'm stressed. Expectations that they've held haven't turned out, and of course that leads to a lot of emotions that we just find we can't cope with and process well. But inevitably a diagnosis like this is a call to do that, because in order to heal we have to face these parts of ourselves where we've got hurts and traumas that we're still carrying, we haven't let go of, and consequently they're impacting on our health. They've helped to create these conditions. So that's the thing that we must face first. Have the courage to say, you know, where have I outsourced my time, my energy, my attention to other people instead of to myself? And the program that a lot of people have come in and to this realm, I would say, and it's been indoctrinated them, is that it's holy or worthy to put other people before yourself. Okay, a lot of us have had that. I remember one time when I was teaching vibrational medicine, flower essences, or homeopathy. One of the women there had come from that area in the 30s and 40s, and her parents had instilled in her that joy meant Jesus first, others second, and yourself last. Now, I do notice with people with cancers who've got very rigid belief systems, they can, not always, but with these type of diagnoses, it's very common, they're holding in a lot of resentments, disappointments, frustration, and losses, like I said, that they haven't processed. And through those COVID years, a lot of us, like I said, we lost our livelihoods. We had to move, a lot of people, locations. We were estranged from, like I said, family members, friends. We just can't connect with people in the ways we have before. So, you know, these kind of conditions, to me, it's a kick up the backside from the Creator, but also the God within us, to get moving, because we're not here to exist. We're here to live fully. And that's another thing. People who often have these kind of diagnoses have become stagnant. Not only stagnant in their bodies, but stagnant in their minds. They're either burnt out, it's also very common, but they're trapped in these cycles of thinking that are keeping them stuck and keeping them resisting life on some level. And often too, people who've had prolonged trauma or stresses, okay, these kind of emotions we're talking about, losses. I mean, we all know that people can die from a broken heart. They do. If they've lost a partner, a parent, a loved one, a child, happens all the time. And sometimes these things are very difficult for people, different people, to get over, to move on from. And so in a sense, there's a part of them that doesn't want to be here anymore. And I've even had times where I've thought, you know, it'd be better to just not be here. It's a lot to cope with. whatever trauma we're going through that we can't resolve, we just can't get the memories out, they keep looping around, all this kind of stuff. So that is a huge component, plays a big part in whether someone becomes well, okay? So, and in what time period, okay? The other thing is, like I said, it's a call to bring your attention back to you. You have to look at where you've put your needs down the road and other people's way up first. They're the things I deal with, their priority. Because it is a betrayal of the self, you know, and this is where I'll talk about the phrase, to thine own self be true. It has a very deep meaning to it. Something my mother used to say to me. My mother had bowel cancer. She wanted to leave, you know, that was, you know, my twin died, suicide at 30. We were both abducted as children. We were picked up in a car and taken and basically sexually abused, if you like. We're lucky, you know, we survived that, but we did. It was a huge trauma to assimilate, but it was part of the trajectory I chose. But my mother never got over the loss of her son, who was almost like a soulmate to her. She had a much stronger connection with him than she did with my dad. So I know the losses that people can feel, and sometimes they don't want to come back from it. They want to leave, okay? There's people who've said to me, oh, you know, I'm very positive and upbeat, but there is a situation when we start to dig around that can seem so complex, so difficult to come to a resolution, that there have been times where they've thought, I'd rather not deal with this. I don't want to do it. So these are things we have to face in ourselves, where we've stopped living and we've got into existing, okay? So because we are here to live, the gifts that's been given to us, and also what's on our heart to share with other people, if we don't do that, these things, like I said, are a bit of a kick up the backside. So the stagnancy that occurs affects the body in that the lymph system, which is the system that removes waste, get things flowing and moving, starts to slow down. It's not working as properly as it should be, okay? And, you know, we have a lot of lymph nodes around our head, down the neck, the back of the neck, crossing over the chest, under our armpits. And these lymph nodes are continually receiving fluids, and their job is to move this through the body to be eliminated, okay? These toxins and wastes that are accumulating in our bodies every moment from just being here and living and animating ourselves. So when these systems start to get a bit backed up, we need to get that flow going. And like I said, whether it's mentally, we have to go within and look where we're stuck, okay? And people say, I don't know how to move. Well, often if you start to move your body, that in turn will start to move your mind, okay? And the way technology is today, how many people are just spending hours and hours and hours inside on a phone or a device, and their bodies aren't moving. They're sitting more and more and more, not going out, not moving, not doing the things we used to do. A lot of people are getting other people, paying other people to do these things, gardening, I mean, simple things. So, you know, years ago we were very active just in daily life, but of course that's all changing. So we get people who have become very inactive, and if we're not moving vigorously, particularly with a chronic illness like cancer, as I said, or an immune disorder, we need to move vigorously to get oxygen going into our body as well. So that's all part of stagnation. So these are the two things I want to impress upon you today: is cancer, chronic illness is a call to move and to remove stagnation. Okay, so if you can just sit quietly in nature, and if you have a diagnosis with cancer or a chronic illness, start to write down, go within yourself, and look at the areas of your life where you're stuck, you're feeling stuck, or you're resisting doing something that you know you need to do or take action on. And also look at where, as I said earlier, where your time and energy is going. It has to all come back onto you, because you are the most precious thing there is, okay? And you come first. So we have to start to look where we've given our energy, our power, everything outside. And what are we left with? Nothing. We're empty. So that's the first thing. The other thing is, too, on the physical level, we need to move. And the easiest way for people who've been inactive, particularly seniors for a long time, is to get a rebounder. And sometimes you can get them now with the handle you can hold on to. Just start to bounce. And what this does is it gets the lymphatic system moving. Now, once that starts moving, you will start to feel clearer in your thinking, okay? Sluggish lymphatic system, sluggish mind, sluggish digestion, all of that, okay? So it's imperative that you start moving, okay? The other thing, as I said, to thine own self be true. Start to look at where you have not been true to yourself, okay? And the other thing I want to just impress on you is anything can be overcome, like I've said before. It just requires persistence and consistency, okay? And bringing your attention back to you and filling your own needs where you've abandoned them, okay? So for now, yeah, I'll just mention the lymphs, okay? Some of the exercises that I started doing, because I was holding in a lot of tension in my jaw, and I knew that because I'd wake up and I'd have sore teeth, and I'd been clenching my teeth through the night. Now, most of us have internalized, like I said, these emotions: anger, frustration, disappointment. And not only does it cause the body to contract and you go into a holding pattern, and that can be apparent just looking at somebody. You know, when you look at someone, their shoulders are coming up. They might even be clenching their hands, but they're not aware of it because it's their operating mode, if you like. So the majority of people I see these days, they are holding themselves tied in. Where's the next threat coming from? Perceived threat. And like I said, a lot of us are in PTSD from these years where our lives have changed dramatically, and we need to address these things. Grieve, cry, be angry, and express these feelings out. And when you do that, you do have not only a sense of peace, but more clarity and more calmness within your body. So we have to be aware of where we're holding. And a lot of people go to dentists and they'll say, oh, what have you been doing? Your TMJ muscles are really tight and sore. And look, if you start pressing on these areas, it hurts. And that is telling you you're holding a lot of tightness in here. And we've got a complete matrix of muscles and fascia that crisscross over in the face, and a ton of lymph nodes all in this area. So I often say to people when they go for a massage, what's the areas they want to be massaged on? Their neck, their shoulders, their back. You talk to the therapist. What's the main thing people want to have relief from? And it's tight necks, tight shoulders. So all of these areas have a web of lymph nodes that can become stagnant, and they're not flowing well. So there's plenty of exercises on YouTube you can have a look at, but what I started to do was really start to massage these areas, go tight in there and feel that anger and you either express it, but just go in there until it starts to feel a bit softer. So where you clench here, this is the area of the face where a lot of disappointment and resentment is held. This is a place where you see it. You know, that phrase that all the emotions get written on your face over the years. So you often see people with a lot of dragging down here, and they're carrying disappointments and sadness, and it's written over their face. And you see people who have learnt to keep optimistic, to, you know, to go for the cup that's half full as opposed to half empty, and it shows on their face, you know. So those two things are very important. As I said, the stagnation, having, you know, start to go around here and see where you're holding, because here we've got a lot of pockets where fluid can just gather and accumulate, and not only does it drag the face down, it ages you prematurely, but as I said, it's inhibiting your ability to remove toxins and waste from your body. Okay, so those things, spend time with yourself. This is the call, okay? And never give up. Keep going. Because I'm here to help share some things with you in this community that I want to establish, and we can share our own experiences with each other and, you know, be allies, because we're all in this together. And on our consciousness level, we all have the same consciousness. We're all thinking the same thing many times. We all have the same desires and needs as humans. So, you know, instead of looking for any differences, look for commonalities between people, and you'll be surprised how things start to change. All right, okay, I'll be back again soon. Bye for now.